Ben Stevens returned to his hometown after 2 years of military service. The fact was that his mother and his fiancée Darcy were waiting for him there. However, when he arrived home, the young man learned that Darcy had been already living with the son of a well-known landowner, Mr. Peterson. For Ben, this was a big blow. Mrs. Stevens was worried that her son would want to take revenge on the offender. The Peterson family was famous for their bad temper and good connections, which meant that Ben could be in danger. Fortunately, time heals. And after a few weeks, the young man came to his senses after the betrayal of his beloved and decided to start a new life. First of all, he got a job as a driver on a farm owned by Mr. Peterson. Of course, it was hard for him to see the arrogant son of his boss and remain silent, but he did not want to let his mother down, who raised him alone, while working 16 hours a day as a milkmaid. He never knew his father, so from an early age he tried to help his mother. But one day, Jack Peterson approached Ben first. "Why are you avoiding me? Are you upset about Darcy?" "It's not worth it. She resisted me as much as she could. She was even screaming loudly," he asked with a venomous smile. "What did you say?" Ben replied. "What you have just heard. Any problems?" Jack said brazenly. Ben could no longer hold back and punched the guy in the face, knocking out a couple of his front teeth. To everyone's surprise, Mr. Peterson did not fire the young man for such an act. The fact was that an insidious plan had been formed in his head. After a while, he accused Ben of stealing gasoline and spare parts from the hangar. The guy was taken to the police station, from where he was soon transferred to the county jail. This was the result of a collusion between Mr. Peterson and corrupt cops. Mrs. Stevens tried her best to help her son, but she did not succeed. When Ben was walking through the dark corridors of the jail, he did not know that his future cellmates were looking forward to his appearance, because the landlord family had vowed to make the guy's life a living hell. When the young man entered the cell, the prisoners immediately surrounded him, and their leader said, "Well, tell us something about yourself. Who are you and how did you get here? Don't be afraid. No one will touch you until I order them to do it. If you want to fight, I'm ready," Ben replied. "I served in the army, and I'm not afraid of blood." These words changed the attitude of the inmates. Now they were listening to the young man with interest. When Ben finished his story, everyone realized that he was in prison on a false charge. The cellmates did not touch the guy and began to treat him well. And after he saved their leader's life during an attack by other prisoners, he used his connections to get Ben a good lawyer. After some time, the young man was released. An additional investigation initiated by the lawyers showed that the Peterson family was involved in illegal activities and therefore completely discredited themselves. When Ben returned home, he immediately met Darcy and asked for forgiveness. The young people decided to live together and have already begun planning a wedding. Meanwhile, Mr. Peterson and his son ended up in prison in the neighboring cells.